So we're back with IFCO-TV with the Dr. Danny Knowles.
That's me.
That's him right here. And aren't you wondering what's in the box? We'll find out in just a second. So Danny,
I don't know if there's any left after Andy Roberts was here.
right? Yeah, Andy did take a couple. So Danny's created the Mile High event, which is August 22nd
to 24th.
Okay, awesome. You're also I don't know your whole story. In fact, today it was the first time we met, in person. That we
Right.
see each other all the time on Facebook, and obviously, run the same circles and everything.
Right.
But fill me on your story in chiropractic.
Before you do that, just 1 second. If you want to get in touch with us, on Twitter, hashtag IFCO to ask Dan any questions at all. And a little trivia for you guys. Danny was our very first guest on IFCO TV ever.
Wow.
Back in New Beginnings a year ago. So it's pretty awesome. So thanks for
you
coming back.
got to start with the best.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
So I really appreciate what's in this because, this is real Italian cannolis. I mean, I'm from Brooklyn.
Yep.
And my grandmother is Maria Luisa Spinelli.
Oh, okay.
So, cannolis, huge thing here. Now, I do want to say this, and no offense, Steve. Last time when we hosted, we had Bryn Gillow. Yeah,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And
No
you're not as pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, you're pretty, but not as
I
pretty.
agree with that.
So I was kind of a little disappointed
Yep.
to not have Bryn, but this makes up for
Right.
it.
Absolutely.
and I had nothing to do with it. It was all Frank, so.
Well, the reason why we gave Cannoli, I saw on Facebook, Danny's old nickname used to be Danny Cannoli.
It was.
And so,
Danny Knowles,
so over by my home where I live in New Jersey is one of the best pastry shops in the state for cannolis. And so,
Yeah, that's good stuff. You may not get the rest of the box
yeah.
back.
Well, we have another box. I brought a backup.
All right. So, my story in chiropractic, my
Yeah.
background. You mean like how I found my way into chiropractic?
Yeah.
All right. So, I have about as classical a chiropractic movie story as you can make. So, first 2 years of life, I had 12 rounds of antibiotics for ear infections. Okay. My mother was a stay-at-home mom in college, and my dad was a medical doctor. He was in medical school. And so what happened was we did whatever doctor's prescriptive course of action. That left me immune challenged as a kid, getting sick, getting flus, and we were very much in an allopathic world. I mean, that was it. My parents split up. My mom was far in the 70s granola nut land, so she was like the health food person, and she wanted to go in a healing arts profession. She didn't know what because she felt like she couldn't give a person an aspirin. But here I was taking medications. I turned into having really bad allergies as a teen, and it was just miserable. And a neighbor said, "You got to take your kid to a doctor. He's always sick." And she said, "Well, I don't want to give him any medications." This is very important. This neighbor went of his own free will, no recommendation, walked to the library, because now you'd take out like your cell phone and you say, okay, what's a drugless healing art? He went to the library, looked up a drugless healing art, came back, knocked on our door, and said, hey, you should take your kid to a chiropractor because it's the largest drugless healing art. If he hadn't done that, and this is why I really am passionate about kids getting chiropractic care, because at that point, they took me, the allergies went away, but here's the crime in it. Well, the allergies went away. The chiropractor went to, he never talked to me about chiropractic, subluxation, and they never defined any of that to explain anything of what chiropractic was. When the symptoms went away,
Did you go away?
we stopped going.
Yeah.
I mean, we just, because it wasn't, symptoms came back. My mom said, this chiropractor must have not done a good job. Took me to another chiropractor that did a different technique, because maybe he would fix me the right way. And we did that for a good 5-6 years, different chiropractors, and it was, treating my immune stuff because it would improve temporarily, but there was no conversation, no analysis, no assessing your spine, anything, or education.
Trying to remove symptoms, basically.
Right, and it was a short term. You go to your chiropractor when you're ill. So it was, instead of visiting a pill bottle, you were visiting the chiropractor, but it wasn't a different objective until.
And that's essentially the practice of medicine.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that is.
And so chiropractic never made sense to me because I was just going because my mom made me. she started to go to chiropractic school because the health changes they had were significant. I mean, chiropractic works even in that model. Even poor chiropractic is still pretty darn good,
Yeah.
you know, and it made a big difference. And so enough so that she decided to go to chiropractic school. So my mom's in chiropractic school. She's at NYCC. She still didn't know what chiropractic was because she didn't get in her education. And she had started dating someone, interesting enough, that was an FSCO member and was a Sherman graduate.
Wow.
And this person said, you just haven't learned what chiropractic is. You have to be a straight chiropractor. And he said to her, you have to go to a Donnie seminar. Because at that time, Donnie seminars were like the epitome of learning technique and learning what chiropractic was in New York at that time in the late 80s. So she at NYCC, one day he was speaking at school. She stayed to hear him speak, and she was blown away. And so Donnie was Donnie Epstein. And so she went to his program. And then later on, they ended up, you know, my mom married Donald Epstein.
Right.
So, and so that's how I ended up. And then when I met him, it was the first time somebody explained chiropractic. And it was like, a subluxation is this. Innate intelligence. Your body has innate. I mean, he was in your face about describing these terms, the universe. And I couldn't, he was hours upon hours trying to explain the triune of life to me at that point. And, you know, and then ended up visiting Sherman just to go along for the ride and being like, you know, you go 2 days under the tent at Sherman with Reggie and Joe Strauss and Joe Sarso and Arnaud Marier and all the people, you know, it's like, oh, I guess I'm being a chiropractor.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how I ended up being a chiropractor.
When did you actually go into Sherman?
What year you mean?
Yes.
So I went to Sherman. I was at New York University. I finished up there, changed my major and to finish up the prereqs, and then I went to Sherman in 92, 93.
Right. So,
and graduated in 96.
So it's been 15, 20 years now that you're out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, pretty awesome. Because I was just thinking about this the other day. I've been out 10 years now. It's like a decade for me in chiropractic, and accomplished a whole lot. It's awesome, but it's a decade already out of school.
Right.
And so
it's amazing how that time flies.
It just goes like that.
Yeah. And so the FSCO and the IFCO, you know, what it stands for has always been my vision and values of chiropractic.
So now, if we have any Sherman students watching specifically, went to school at Sherman, now you are on the board of Sherman.
Yes.
So you don't know what your future is going to hold in store for you, but if you plan and keep on going, things can happen. So let's talk about that.
Well, you know, I was an FSCO member at Sherman. I was a person that was very active in getting people members. In fact, you know, Shane Walker was one of the people that I helped get to be an FSCO member at the time, you know. Awesome. And we were friends in school, and World Congress Chiropractic Students Delegate for Sherman, and then waited a couple years while my wife, who was also a Sherman student, she wasn't my wife at the time, but you know, when she graduated, then we moved out to Colorado.
Nice. What was she from? Colorado?
No, she was from Pennsylvania.
Okay, so why did you choose Colorado?
Well, I was from New York, so New York. I gotta take another bite.
All right, yeah,
really good. And when you're from New York or from Brooklyn, you can eat and talk at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no problem with that.
No problem.
So, because you can use your hands, because you really talk with your hands.
Yep, absolutely.
So, am I right?
You're doing a great job. Yeah.
Cicely, you talk with your hands?
I do. Actually, my wife says I do it too much. So
there are probably some gestures that we don't want to do.
Right.
I try purposely to keep them down.
All right. So wait, what were we saying?
You're
we're
gonna
saying
have to
something
use his sleeve
food.
for a napkin.
Do I? All right, I'll do that. So what were we talking about? The food distraction.
We were talking about Sherman College and how you transitioned to becoming a board member. On the board.
Okay. Well, you know, I've been very politically involved in chiropractic, much against my desire, almost like feet dragging, because there's always something that happened that I thought was inappropriate relative to the principle of chiropractic that somehow I ended up defending or being involved with. I mean, being in Colorado is about as allopathic as you can get for chiropractic, unfortunately. When I first opened there, I was the first Sherman grad in Colorado in 20 years.
Wow.
Because Sherman wasn't open to Colorado. We went there because I was a New Yorker New Yorker. And while I was at Sherman, my parents moved to Colorado. So instead of visiting Brooklyn for school breaks, I was visiting Boulder. So I was from Brooklyn to Boulder. It was a big transition.
Right.
So, you don't get cannolis.
No cannolis, right?
No cannolis. Look, the cannolis in Boulder are gluten free and sugar free,
Right.
and
fun,
taste free. Right. No GMOs. So etc.
So it's good visiting the East Coast.
It is. So then when we were in Colorado, first practice, I had a case that many people know about because it was a big deal, and I am kind of a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. No disrespect to the one Liam Schubel.
But what happened was, without going into too much details, I was taking care of a few of the Denver Broncos, some professional athletes, and I had a case with the state board, and the state board said, long story short, that I didn't do blood pressure, orthopedic, and neurological testing. And I said, no, I didn't, because those things don't tell you anything about subluxations. Hey, you want a cannoli?
Food!
No, these are really good.
Really good?
Delicious.
How cool! Is it an unsubluxated cannoli? Will it allow me to express my fullest health potential?
Well, let me tell you this. You know what a cannoli has to do with chiropractic?
Tell me, what does a cannoli have to do with chiropractic?
It's what's on the inside that matters.
Oh, baby!
Yes. That's very
Have
good.
one. Have one, Peter. You can't miss it.
Hello,
You worked
Peter.
out this morning, so you
Peter's
can do
going
it.
to be our next guest
So,
up.
No, you didn't do blood pressure. You didn't do orthopedics. You didn't do a neurology test. Don't take the box.
Was this because they saw you on TV doing that?
No. I had they got Chiropractic got word that I was taking care of these Denver Broncos. It was the cover of today's Chiropractic Life magazines. So I was on the cover of that with Bill Romanowski.
Okay.
And they called in the records, and I said, yeah, I don't do those things. And they wanted to put a practice monitor that every single visit, I take blood pressure, orthopedics, and neurology tests. And I said, there's no way. And here I am, new grad, practicing. It was my first day in practice. I got a cease and desist from the board because of this.
Wow.
First day in practice in my actual office. I was taking care of them at their homes. I said, there's no way. So I fought it for years. And long story short, we ended up winning. So I didn't have to have a practice monitor. And, the practice of chiropractic needs to be adjustment of subluxation, improving spinal and neural integrity, because in and of itself, a healthy nerve system affects a person's ability to thrive. And people need to be able to do that regardless of their age, regardless of the symptom, regardless of they have a condition or a disease, just because it's a good idea.
Right.
Just like it's a good idea to eat cannolis.
Makes sense to me.
That's one of the big reasons why IFCO is here, too, to help with those things.
Make sure that
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Imagine first day in practice, you get a cease and desist letter. I mean, that never happened to me, and I'm thankful that never happened to me, but I wouldn't know what I would do if that happened.
Well,
You
yeah.
call the IFCO now.
My
Well,
first
that's
phone
the deal.
call was to Shane Walker.
Now, here's the difference. When you get pulled into those things kind of repeatedly, Reggie used to say this quote, and Reggie was very influential. I don't know if it's who's the real source of the quote from, because when Reggie said things, I don't know where it really came from. But it was always brilliant.
Sure.
And I love Reggie. But I remember him saying that there was a quote that the coldest place in hell was for people that saw evil being done and did nothing.
Right.
And
Inaction.
and not doing anything. So there's always something where something was going on, and it was like, you can't sit by and let this happen to your profession or happen to chiropractic. And I think that's how I ended up being on the Sherman board, was that I got invited to. I saw what was going on with the school. I figured I could help it get in a better direction, because Sherman needs to be the light for chiropractic education that there is now.
Right.
Let's
Let's switch up for a moment, because this is a really big deal, and I really want to get to
Okay.
this point. Mile High.
Yep.
IFCO-TV is going to be out there for the first time.
which
too.
I am excited about.
It's going to be awesome.
Are you going to bring cannolis?
Going to bring cannolis too. This time. It's going to allow them on the airplane.
They may not let it through the.
They may not let them through
security,
the airplane,
right?
so you might have to get them from the.
Well, there's a lot of
suitcase.
things that are legally allowed in Colorado
Yeah.
that aren't allowed elsewhere.
I
That's
might
true.
have to ship them UPS.
Yeah.
We'll have
Just
to
don't
get
try to take any out of.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll have to go with those cannolis. I don't know. We're going to have to have them now. I got them up here. Car drove from People's Republic of New Jersey.
Okay.
Liam Schubel.
Good.
So let's talk about Mile High.
All right.
Yeah. tell everybody what's going on, how we can help out.
So for this, I have to charge my hands. I gotta put down the cannoli.
Yeah.
So for Mile High, let's do it. I'm just gonna just.
Oh, that was not nice.
So, here's the deal.
It smells good though.
I see a lot of things relative to Sherman and chiropractic education as a whole, and see things that other people don't necessarily see in terms of the chiropractic educational paradigm that a lot of people are unaware of. My wife sits on the state board. She sees a lot of things that, none of you are necessarily aware of in terms of what's going on politically and legally. And we just got to a point that, you see darkness and you see frustration and it gets you and it can get under your skin and you can only so long that you can curse the darkness before you say, you know what, this is just getting me down. I've got to do something positive. Right. And, it's always better to light some candles than to curse the darkness. So, I said, you know what? It just started welling up in me that we need an anchor for chiropractic philosophy, a home for vitalistically minded chiropractors. And, I think it was Matt McCoy wrote an article about their shades of straight. There's a different range of spectrum. I want Mile Home for people that's facing the direction of a vitalistic practitioner to have an anchor for that in that part of the country, because there's nothing for that. My heart is the IFCO. There's very few IFCO or people don't even think that way in that area. But I know if we, if we lit a bonfire, that it would attract people. Mm-hmm. So, I remember thinking about it, and I want to do this. It kept me up at night, and I was like, this is what I think I want to do. And two things happened. One, Liam Schubel. Liam Schubel was out to speak at an EPOC, and we were hanging out, and he stayed at my place, Judd also, and we went to this EPOC, and he saw, and we talked about for a day, all the stuff that was going on in Colorado that was bad, and he said something to me, and I don't think he realized it, but he said, with all this stuff going on, he said, you've done nothing here. And the way he said it, right, was like through like a knife. And it just, I was like, I'm busy as all heck. I'm doing stuff. I've published researchers. I'm teaching network spiral analysis. I'm practicing. I got kids. What do you mean I've done nothing? I'm doing a lot of stuff. But he was right. And then I kept thinking, I could do this. I could do an anchor type program to bring together people so we can start having a hub of enthusiasm for people that are vitalistically minded. There are all these different camps that don't come together, and they have to fly to different places. I called up Jim DeBell because I like New Beginnings a lot, and I said, I think I want to do this, Jim. I want to do something like what you're doing. And he always said to me, he said, Nate's already told you. Why are you asking me?
Do it.
Do it. So that was it.
Right.
And so we said we had like 4 months. We threw together in 4 months a program. I called the biggest, and I hope I can use 4-letter words. This is really a 3-letter word. I called the biggest chiropractic ass kickers I know to come out and speak that could kick some people in the ass for their philosophy and get things going. And we had over 200 attendees for the first time. And we threw it together in 4 months. I mean, I really, it was working nonstop. It was a lot of effort. But people loved it and ate it up in that area. So it's going to become an annual thing. And I'm not here, I want to tell you, I'm here for the IFCO, not for Mile High. I mean, I love the IFCO, and I think what the IFCO doing is central to chiropractic. Peter Kevorkian is not very central to chiropractic, but the IFCO is. But his laugh, Peter's laugh, is a central part of chiropractic.
Peter's behind the camera. You can't see him, but he's there dancing away again, as
Peter,
usual.
Can you do that for us later when it's your turn?
Yeah. We are, that's really how IFCO-TV was born as well. Very similar idea.
You clean up good, man.
What happens is we figured out that there's people around the world who can't make it to some of the seminars. Because many of the good seminars are in the U.S. still.
Right.
And so that's a barrier. And then there's some folks financially can't make it to the seminars. So this is a way for them to get a little bit more chiropractic in their life wherever they are in the world.
Right.
And I think it's awesome that we can do something like this for them, and it's
Right.
free, totally free. It's just IFCO is stepping up.
And you bring up you reminded me of a moment in the Dominican at the Global Summit, and there was a chiropractor and his wife from Sweden, and his wife was just crying with tears of gratitude because they don't have anything. You know, we forget, you know, how much we have with each other here, being able to come together. You know, a lot of us did fly to get here, but even out there in the world, you know, they don't have much. So
now here's the thing.
Alone.
I gotta tell you this: people do feel that way, and people feel that way in the Dominican, other places in the country. In our area, Colorado, if you think about this, the Spears Hospital, chiropractic history was there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Wisconsin, Mount Horeb. Wisconsin was also Iron Toughness, Palmer, Iowa. But that area is so allopathic in terms of the chiropractic thinking.
Right.
When we had this program, I was shocked. I have phone calls with people. If I go to this, will it help me have a cash practice? We've got to get away from insurance. And I'm like, well, it's not the topic, but yeah, if you get more focused on delivering real chiropractic, I think it's going to help you get away from insurance, most definitely. And then I had people afterwards that were calling me up crying, like, I can't believe you did this for this area, because they feel alone. And that is happening overseas. It's happening in the U.S., and this IFCO-TV and the programs, it's essential. People need it because guess what? They don't learn how to be chiropractors in most
You're
chiropractic
gonna always
schools.
hear a great message. It's
true.
the mission, the vision, the strategy of IFCO. It's all there. It's all laid out. We can always go over that later on with a couple of later guests. But right in the center of the country, Colorado, Denver is a perfect spot for that event because you have folks out on the West Coast, Steve, and you have some events out there. We're very, very fortunate out on the East Coast with Jim DuBell in New Beginnings. We go to it. Garden State has their events. And then we have Sherman, not too far away. I would still consider them East Coast, but in the South. So we need something in the middle of the country.
Look, the center of the country has to get centered on tick. And if the center of the country gets centered on tick, that can emanate out.
Yep.
Did I hit the microphone? Is that bad? Did I blow his ears? Did I blow your ears
You
out?
might have.
But
Yep. No worries.
We'll give you a cannoli. There you go. Okay.
No worries. But okay, so Danny, tell
Yes.
folks at home how they can find Mile High, how they can get in touch with you if they want to help out. Or
Okay,
do something.
so it's end of August 22nd and 24th. Great time to visit Colorado. If you like Colorado in the winter, you will love it in the summer. It's a beautiful family vacation place. www.milehighchiro.org. www.milehighchiro.org. You can find me on Facebook. You can email me at support@milehighchiro.org. So support@milehighchiro.org, or find me on Facebook and message me there. But get out to Colorado. We need this for chiropractic in the center of the country. You know what else is in Colorado?
What else?
You know what's in Colorado? Politically, chiropractic,
the national boards.
NBCE and the FCLB are both in Colorado.
Right next to each other.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's interesting. We don't need to go there. However, this vibration can go out and affect those people. This is the center of the chiropractic cartel. So let's bring chiropractic there. You know, there's a community of it in the Northeast and Southeast, and you know,
Perfect.
that's the deal.
Well,
Awesome.
Thanks for coming out, Danny. Cannolis, I know we're great because
Well, this is my second one. It's my second
Might
one.
be.
It's okay.
Might have been your third or fourth by now. But we got the box, so feel free to take it with you.
Okay.
And
It's not like the box on the wall. We're not putting things in it. We're just taking things out.
you can put something in the box. Feel free.
We'll go to the IFCO.
We'll go to the
We'll make
IFCO.
sure of it.
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
there we go. Good.
Absolutely. Okay, so any last words to share with the folks at home?
Yes, I want to say a very important last word. Here's the deal. And wait, do people watch this that may not be IFCO members?
Maybe.
Okay, so here's the thing. One of the things that stuck with me that's huge that Tom Gilardi said was he said that being a part of your state and national organization literally is your rent. You have to put the time, energy, and resources, and finances can be energy, to the organizations that represent your values. If the IFCO doesn't represent your values, Be an organization of something else, but don't be a member of nothing. Be a member of something that represents your values. If you are not for vaccinations, for example, you should be a member of the NVIC and support them because they're a representation of your values. If you're not going to be the person that goes and lobbies in Washington, the IFCO needs to have people that are behind their mission, which I would venture to say is a lot of people, a lot more than our members. And you part of your rent is literally being part of the national and state organizations that represent your values. If you're not doing that, you're actually putting a vote for the other side without realizing it.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Inactivity is going to do nothing for anybody.
Yeah. So that's my piece. So that, and I'll take the cannolis, and
Awesome.
I'm going to go.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
I